in the Central Park in Manhattan, in Central Park. It's fun putting the emphasis on a different syllable. In the Central Park in Manhattan on Broadway. We're not on Broadway. Anyway, hi. Happy Thursday. Excuse me. Thursday. How many we got here? 9 viewers and a couple thumbs up already. Woo! Expectations are going to be unreasonable. It's very pleasant in the shade, in the direct sun. It is hot and humid. I do love the shade. I gotta tell you, man, nature is amazing. The natural air conditioning provided by the shade of an oak tree. I'm under an oak tree right now. I love an oak tree. I grew up around a lot of oak trees. We belonged to a country club when I was a kid called Avon Oaks Country Club, and it was named that way because the golf course where at the club there was just a lot of oak trees, and so they just called it Avon Oaks because it was in Avon Lake, Ohio. Anyway, I digress. And we had an oak tree in our front yard. We had 2 of them, actually, growing up. And of course, we had acorns that fall from it, and I can clock an oak leaf from a mile away. And they have a very specific kind of bark. Yeah, oak trees have a very tough, rugged bark. Anyway, why am I talking about that? It's nice, natural air conditioning. This is nature's air conditioning. It's fascinating to me. Have not had breakfast yet, but I will. So, of course, still on our minds, and as it should be, is Betty, thank you. Wow. Fran with the tips. You guys, the generous. Thank you so much. I might be able to get some new underwear then. Thanks, George. I was listening to On with Kara Swisher, and she kind of re-aired a conversation that she had with Heather Cox Richardson, who's someone I really admire. Heather Cox Richardson is a very active creator on Substack, and Heather, I think, pulls down like $5 million a year on her Substack. I mean, the numbers are crazy. I mean, that is just a testament to, you don't need a magazine job. You just need, something interesting to say, a talent for what? You just need something interesting to say, a talent for writing, and how the fuck are these people just like, they gotta come near me? You have 200 yards on either side of me, but you have to like come right near me and my dog with your fucking bike? That's annoying. You can always tell when someone's from somewhere else, and it's not just from the hair. You can always tell when someone's they have from somewhere else hair. They have clothes and hair and a makeup scheme that says I'm from somewhere else. It's usually a dead giveaway. And they had hair that said I'm from somewhere else. Anyway, Heather Cox Richardson, her Substack. Kara had Heather on earlier this year. This was like pre-debate, right? And so she had her on again for this, like a sort of a special July 4th. They sort of replayed that conversation, but Heather and Kara bookended the replay with a little before, a little intro, a fresh new intro recorded, I'm presuming yesterday, or maybe the day before, and another one after. And it was basically, Heather, has your opinion changed? Or what are your thoughts? And she brought up something that not enough people in the media are bringing up, and I myself am guilty of not having thought of it, and we need to press the media harder. Everyone was on fire, myself included, about how Biden really showed his age and looked shaky. Not really mentioning how everything that came out of Trump's mouth was literally bullshit. like a lie. Like, are we not going to pay attention to the fact that, yeah, the big story is that the old man was acting like an old man, but ignoring the fact that the guy who is going to burn our democracy down was spewing, like fire hosing shit into the conversation. We're going to ignore that. She brought up something, I don't remember the term, I got to listen to it again, but there is a term. It's like gaslighting, and Trump does this. It's literally a thing. It's not a made-up idea. It's not a new thing. It's like gaslighting. When you flood the conversation with so much shit and inundate the person with you with so much shit, you're just like overwhelmed and gobsmacked, kind of the way Biden was. Thank you guys for the tips today. So again, this is not to negate that it is like it's freaky to see that how shaky Biden was, whether he was on like NyQuil instead of Dayquil and whatever. At the same time, we're going to ignore the fact that the freak who wants to burn this country down was spewing so much bullshit, like per minute, and like real-time fact checkers who were dead accurate would not have been able to keep up with it. We cannot ignore that. So I have said this in other lives, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to switch topics because I don't want to talk about this, but I am going to bring up, I'm going to do what I can to save our democracy. We cannot be serious about, like, Trump. Like, what the fuck? I think any man out there, if you think Trump is an ideal, if you see Donald J. Trump as an ideal in any way, shape, or form, you have fallen off the tracks if you were ever on the tracks already. Just know that. Or your father failed you spectacularly. If any man looks at Donald Trump and sees him as an ideal in any way, your father failed you. Your father failed you. Because the most, I think, from what I'm told, the most a parent can do for their children, parents can do for their children, is to love them and give them a sense of values. And if you're into Trump, maybe you were loved as a kid, but the values that should have been passed on to you and provided for you by your parent didn't seep through, or they were the wrong values. Because if you, as a man, are into Trump in any way, and I say men because there's a new New York Times Siena poll, clocking how Trump has surged in the polls. He's got like a 6-point lead over Biden right now. The overwhelming majority of people in that lead are men. That most of that 6% is men. Women, actually, there was a growth in women for Biden, actually, believe it or not. And this is not my opinion, this is a poll, the Times Siena poll. The spike in support for Trump after the debate is coming from men. So that is why I'm saying, men, if you look at Trump as an ideal in any way, your father failed you. Don't get mad at me all you want, I don't give a fuck. Moving on. And thank you for the tips, you guys. This is really sweet. Let me see. Donna Maynard, thank you. Sarah Krause, thank you. Lynn Casper, thank you. And of course, Fran McTamney. I love you, buddy. And Betty Chandler. Thank you guys so very much. Trump 2024. This is where you go fuck yourself. Your dad failed you. And we're going to remove it. Yeah. Fred Trump's loser son. Yeah, I got it. Gish Gallup. That's it. That's the term. Heather Cox Richardson. Look this up. I'm going to Google it and get a further understanding of it because it was such an educational listen. I strongly recommend you guys go listen to On with Kara Swisher, today's episode with Heather Cox Richardson, which was inspiring to me for a number of reasons. Number one, politically, she's smart. She gets me fired up in all the right ways. She's not always friendly. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, you don't have to. Thanks. God. do not understand why people, like, they're walking their dog, and why are you walking toward another person? I don't get it. Like, fucking, there's so much space out here to just, I come out here to get the fuck away from people a little bit, but people insist on not letting me get the fuck away from them. Like, I'm here to get the fuck away from people for a minute. And I really can't stand the people who aren't letting me pursue that agenda. Just give me a fucking minute by myself. Anyway, thank you. Pink Kitty Paws. Thank you. How you want him as president? Who the fuck? Speak English. God, can't even talk. You can't even type. God, look at this Deepak dipshit. Can't even talk. All right, you're done. You can't even talk. All right, you're out. You're done, and you're out. Yeah, Deepak, I deleted him. No one can see Deepak's content. He can type all he wants. No one's gonna see it. What was I saying? God, I've already talked too long. I try to keep these to 10 minutes, but I can never seem to do it. I want to give you your money's worth, especially to those of you who are nice enough to throw some tips in the jar. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. Should I become the Heather Cox Richardson of YouTube? I'm so impressed with her. I do want to talk about that again for a second. But first, so if, yeah, that term, Gish Gallop. And I said this the other day. I said this in another live. I think it was here on YouTube. Am I crazy about our options here? Fuck no. But Trump is Bed Bath and Beyond the worst option. If Joe is on a gurney, he will get my vote before I vote for Trump. Are you fucking kidding me? Donald Trump is going to be a Mussolini. Like, that's what he wants to be. Hitler, Mussolini. That's what we're going for here. And the Supreme Court has enabled him to do that. Just that. So if you want women to not have the right to bodily autonomy, if you want life to be harder for non-white heterosexual, non-white people in this country, if you want gays hung by a tree and tossed into a mass grave, or stripped of their right to marry or have children together, if you want all of that to go away, if you want it harder for black people to vote, if you don't want options when you vote, if you want democracy to go away, go ahead and vote for Trump, and be sure to go fuck yourself on the way out the door. You cannot be serious. And if you are serious, you're sick. And your father failed you. Yeah, because your value system is fucked. Moving on, switching subjects. I love you all. Brad, thank you. Danielle, thank you. Kara's interview with Heather Cox Richardson is on wherever you get your podcasts, and just look for On with Kara Swisher. The bulk of the thing is the repeat. I think the original interview was dropped in January. It's still good. It's great. I mean, Heather Cox Richardson is so smart. But it's really good. I'm going to listen to that last part again, like the last 15 minutes. Like, they do a break and they're like, okay, so and Kara's like, okay, so what do you think about what we talked about 6 months ago? And they talk about it after, in the wake of the debate and all of that. So it's really good. I want to listen to that last 15 minutes again. And Heather Cox Richardson is so inspiring because she creates content. She started it on Facebook and then moved over to Substack, and she's got the newsletter audience, and I think she's got millions of followers, or at least 1 million. Let's put it this way. Think about it. Do the math. She's got, let's say she just has, for simple math's sake, 1 million followers, and subscription to her daily newsletter is, I don't know, $4, maybe $5 a month. Sexy. A lot better than a fucking magazine job. So if you've got talent, if you've got something to say, you have agency, because we're in a time where we've got tools at our disposal. You don't have to millions. I mean, I make a very tiny amount on my Patreon. I don't really work at it as hard as I should, because I have fear that it'll fail or succeed. but that's between me and my therapist. But the point is, if you have your shit together and you're consistent and you're disciplined, it's not going to happen overnight. There is a piece of that pie for you. It'll pay much better than a fucking magazine job. I tell you that right now. Anyway, I was listening to, and then I gotta go. Talking too long. If there are any Prince fans out there, because I'm a raging Prince fan. And my Prince time was in the 80s, like from 1999 through Batman, like really. Oh, I liked Graffiti Bridge too. And with fits and starts beyond that. And then since he died, there have been these remastered, reissued deluxe editions of 1999, Purple Rain, and Sign of the Times. Hours upon hours of previously unheard material. And there is this podcast that I just heard about on NPR last week, and now I'm obsessed with it, where this woman, I think her name is Andrea something, Sorensen, I'm getting that wrong. She's from Minneapolis, and was a journalist and had access to Prince and saw something like while he was alive, and did this podcast and interviewed like the people who were there: Wendy, Lisa, Dr. Fink, Bobby Z, Brenda Bennett, who was in Vanity 6 and Apollonia 6, and like it's like crazy. I'm obsessed with this shit. And so now I am listening to the 1999 Deluxe Expanded Edition, which is like in CD form, probably 4 additional CDs of material. There's a live show. It's not a board mix. It's actually it's better sounding than a board mix, that live show. And then there's like vault tracks, oh God, it's just, if you're a Prince fan, this shit is porn. And the Purple Rain one is sick. Like if I sat in my chair, put on my Apple AirPods Max and just like princed out for the weekend, I'd still have stuff left over by Sunday. Like there's so much yummy material. And then I gotta do the Sign of the Times one. It's crazy. So if you're a Prince fan like I am, and have Apple Music or Spotify, enjoy yourself. It's just, I mean, the stuff's been out for a couple years now, or at least a year. It's so good. Pure joy. Yeah. Look at all these purple hearts. Look at it, Fran. Yeah, let's see. Of course, Prince is amazing. What people need to understand, even if you feel Biden is too old, Kamala Harris is head and shoulders better than Trump too. 1,000%. And let me just say this, and then I'm going to go because I've been talking too long, and you guys have been so nice to contribute and hang out. Kamala Harris gets a bad rap, but then look at history, you guys. When has a VP ever had a positive ride? You know what I mean? No one ever gets a good ride. The vice president is a thankless job. Does anybody ever leave the vice presidency looking better than they did, except for maybe George H.W., because he was Reagan's VP. But I don't know. Well, Gerald Ford was, because Nixon resigned. And then, of course, Johnson. Well, I gotta think about that theory. But like, with those exceptions, like the VP in modern politics, never, like Veep, like that's why they made a show out of it. That's why that show is so funny. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, probably will go down is the most brilliant, one of the most brilliant comedies ever, and certainly the most brilliant political comedy ever. Veep, just genius. But that's the reason that show is so funny, or one of them, other than the stellar performances of the cast and the writing in that writer's room, the showrunners, all of it. But anyway, that's why that show is so, the idea of it is so funny, because the Veep is just like, you're a pain sponge and you do these thankless things. So Kamala has much more going on than she gets credit for. So I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. Listen, if Joe gets elected, and then, and let's hope he does, because it looks like he's not dropping out, but whatever, let's make this work. Listen, I am not in the, somebody said this perfectly the other day, I am not in the elect Joe business, Joe Biden president business. I am in the keep Donald Trump out of the White House business. And if that means Joe Biden is the nominee, I am all fucking in. If that means Pete Buttigieg or Kristen Whitmer or Gretchen Whitmer or Gavin Newsom is the nominee, I'm fucking all behind that. If Kamala Harris is the nominee, I am all behind that. Whatever it takes to keep Donald Trump out of the White, that's the business I'm in. That's the business we all have to be in. Because Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy. Never forget it. I'll remind you every goddamn day if I have to. I love you guys so much. And I want to say we're going to be okay, but I need all of your help to like make sure that we're all going to be okay. And make sure that people you know are registered, get your parents registered, or make sure like if they've changed address, anything that could invalidate their vote, make sure that that's all fixed well ahead of time. We got about 5 months here. Make sure you're registered and everything is all hunky-dory, okay? All right, have a great 4th. And if you guys have dogs, be careful around the fireworks. And I'm gonna give Lenore, not a trazodone, but a gabapentin and put her thunder shirt on. And I'm gonna give her a gabapentin like an hour before the fireworks starts. So, and then maybe run her around a little bit more before the day's up so she's a little more exhausted. Anyway, that's it. Take care of your dogs. This is a rough day on dogs. It's a rough day on dogs. So thank you guys for your donation, your tip jar stuff. I love you. Project 2025, fucking scary. All right, love you guys. Cats too, all of it. All right, be good.